All right, guys, we are going to be ranking things that I think can either help you become a professional goalkeeper or things that I think are really going to hurt you. At the top, we got S. At the bottom, we've got D. Let's get right into it. First one, film analysis. This is going into S. There's so much data behind how beneficial watching film is, what it can do for your brain. Your brain gets reps just like your body. And I think the younger generation nowadays has such an advantage because the technology is there to capture from so many angles. And when I was coming through, really you had an old video camera that your high school used if you were lucky. I used to have to put GoPros in the back of the net so you would only see the action from the goal. But now there's just so much technology available, and being able to see yourself in different moments from different angles, to actually think about what you saw in your head to then seeing it on film, it just translates so well. And it's such a great way to develop. I personally love film analysis. I wish every single action that I did was recorded. Of course, you can overanalyze to a certain extent, but you're seeing at the highest level training sessions. And of course, games are recorded as well. So absolute S tier. I think if you're not doing this, this is something that you're missing out on tremendously. Next one we're going to go to is social media. Film, video makes sense, right? This for me, I think, you see a lot of goalkeepers that have these social media accounts that, they might be famous. Let's put this in B. I think, it doesn't hurt to have an account that has, a bunch of followers, millions of views. Of course, that can draw attention to you, but you see a lot of goalkeepers that are playing Sunday League that have millions of views. So it's not like it's going to make you a professional footballer. I have spoken to college coaches that say they do like to see a potential recruit their Instagram from a soccer perspective. Of course, your own personal Instagram, you need to be smart about what you're posting on there to not discourage a coach from recruiting you. But having a good Instagram account in regards to your videos and your views, it's not going to magically make you a professional. It might get you in front of, some eyes that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, but you still have to be at the level that's going to make that coach even interested in wanting to reach out to you. Next, we've got networking here. This is an interesting one in sports. I'm going to put this in B tier as well. It kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the social media stuff, but ultimately, who it might open up some doors, but it's not like the corporate workplace. You have to be at the level soccer wise. And yes, if you're at the level and you know people, of course, it helps rather than not knowing anyone. But if you're a lower level player, and it doesn't matter if you know Ronaldo can open up any door in the world for you. But if you suck, it doesn't do anything. So it can be beneficial and it can help. But that's why for me, I think it's at a B tier. It's not going to, again, magically make you a professional. It might open up some doors, but you also have to be very careful about who it is that you do know, because there's a lot of people that say, hey, I can connect you with this person, with that person, and they promise a lot. But at the end of the day, if the level's not there, it doesn't really mean too much. I know plenty of people that are playing at the highest level, and they're dealing with their own things in their own career, let alone, trying to open up doors for others. It can just be extremely difficult. So next one we're going to go to is trialing, particularly these agencies where people are paying for trials. For me, this is going to, I would say, be between a C and a B. You do have the networking aspect of it on one hand, and if you can work with people that can open up trials, I would never personally pay for a trial. I've done it in the past. Big mistake. I know other people that have done it. A lot of these so-called agents have deals with clubs where when the player pays the agent, the agent gives a little bit to the club, and the club can say, hey, come on in, we'll let you train. You may not even be training with the first team. And so anytime you have an agent that's saying, hey, if you pay me this, I can promise you that, that's just not the way the football world works. Now, if you're potentially in a new country and you go and you email a club and they say, hey, yeah, come in and trial, then that's a different story, because you're not paying anyone anything. You're just going out there, basically cold calling and seeing which doors will open. And then if you do get your foot in the door, it's a great way to be able to showcase yourself and hopefully try to earn a contract. Do be careful, though, about the timing of when you go. Make sure that you're actually eligible to sign. I had this happen to me where I was trialing with a club in the 4th division in Germany, and I wasn't able to sign because it was outside of the transfer window, and I had basically played in America. And when you miss the transfer window, you need a 6-month period of not having played. So take that with a grain of salt. That's why I think between B and C, it's something that it can help, but honestly, at the professional level, it's very rare that, you're going to necessarily be trialing anyways, at least at a high professional level. But if you have the level and you're the type of player, chances are an agent wants to sign you because they want to take a cut of your contract either now or in the future. So it should never be you paying the agent. It should be, the agent getting you a really, really big contract and he takes a cut of that. So, and oftentimes when people are trialing, I would say it mostly comes to Europe just because that's where a lot of these systems and processes are taking place. So that leads us to the next one. This is about, I would say, this particular picture is about playing overseas. It doesn't have to be Europe. I have this map here. We can zoom in. You can see how many clubs are in Europe. I think these are just professional as well, not to mention all the semi-pro and amateur. So let's just phrase this as basically going abroad. I'm going to put this between B and A. I think going abroad as a goalkeeper can be very beneficial to be able to get exposed to men's football and to get some minutes that are actually important. 3 points actually matter. You get paid oftentimes a premium per point that you get. Of course, you're playing for promotion. You're also playing against relegation. You want to stay in the league. So, but the reason it's in a B is because there's a lot of countries where you are playing and it is great, but what does the future look like? What does the actual pathway look like? And that's where, you have to be in a country like Germany, England, Spain, France, Portugal, some of the big ones where there's actually a path for growth. Other countries like, let's say, Malta, Gibraltar, maybe Andorra, there's just not much of a long-term plan that's there. So that's why I would say going between B and A. But if you go to one of those big countries and you do well, there's a clear ladder, a clear pathway to be able to get to the top. So for me, games are the most important thing for goalkeepers. And this next one that we're going to talk about is taking a gap year. Now, I think a gap year is going to go into the A category here. I think it's something that really all goalkeepers should be doing. Again, it's not going to guarantee that you go pro, but it's going to help you tremendously. Not only will it potentially help you with more college offers, or rather better college offers, but also you're going to get a taste of potentially European football. The reason I have this logo here is because this is the International Talent program that's hosted by Varuby Sports. They're a partner of mine, and I help find them players to, try to send them to this academy. And listen, it's not going to make sense for everyone. I think what they're doing is great because they are allowing kids to come to Europe, get an extra year of development, and they themselves run a college recruitment service. So players that say don't make it in Europe or don't want to stay in Europe, they then can take that experience and use it to go back to America and hopefully get a better scholarship or a better offer. But oftentimes, you'll see a lot of players that come over and will have this new experience that just makes them that much better, particularly as a goalkeeper. But if you can stay at the club that you're at and just play under 19s, for example, it's even better because you're already familiar with the system, the setup, the coaches, etc. So basically any way that you can keep getting games and get an extra year of development, both physically, mentally, it will make a huge difference. So that will lead us to college soccer. I'll talk about basically, all levels of college soccer. Again, this is for me going to be one that's kind of between A and B. I think if you go to a top Division I program, it can make a big difference in your career and it can open up a lot of doors just because you have the label of having played at a big D1 school. But there's plenty of D1 schools that when you go there, that'll basically be the end of your career. It just doesn't have a good reputation. The level's not there. And yes, it has the tag and the title of the D1, but as a goalkeeper, particularly, you need to be somewhere where you're playing, you're getting a lot of attention, you're getting film, you're getting minutes. And at times, D1 might not make sense. That might not be the answer. You might have to look at JUCO or NAIA or Division II or Division III. It's great to have the clout to say, hey, I'm a D1 athlete. But if you are really trying to make it professionally, getting games, getting minutes, getting that exposure is going to ultimately be the best for your career as a goalkeeper. So the next thing that we are going to look at real quick, I am still in the call. Thanks, Google. We're going to look at a goalkeeper coach. Now, this might surprise a lot of people that, that this should, of course, be in the S tier, but I'm going to put this in the A tier because I think a good goalkeeper coach, of course, can make a huge influence on your career. But the same way that they can influence you in a good way, they can also influence you in a bad way, particularly, if they're an older goalkeeper coach that hasn't adapted to the demands of the modern game and has a plan that they've used with other goalkeepers that they've been successful with. It might not apply to you, it might not work for you, but if you're under their training and they're very committed to this ideology of training, it might hurt you more than it will harm you. So that's why I'm going to put it in A tier. We've got a fun one here. These are the no grip gloves. These are from Voss. I know there's a few different companies that make these, but I swear by these. They've helped my handling tremendously. I've always had good hands, and these have just helped me progress even more. When you have to focus on every single ball, regardless of how fast, how strong, the direction, whatever, it really makes a huge difference in your concentration. It also builds the strength in your hands, your wrist, your fingers, everything. I normally just wear these in goalkeeper training. If you're, chill with your coach and the coach understands that you're wearing these in small sided, then, that of course can be beneficial as well too. And then you'll find that when you put on a regular pair of gloves, man, you feel unstoppable. Next, we're going to go to journaling. Journaling is another S tier activity for me. This is one of those things that you can do that will help you get 1% better, especially over the course of a long time. One day of journaling is not going to make a huge difference, but over the course of a year, 5 years, 10 years, to be able to actually go back, read some of the things that you've written down, being able to learn from them. The brain always remembers better when something is written down as well. So this is just an activity that, particularly after trainings, after games, going and commenting on what you did well, what you could have done better, your emotions, how you're feeling, all that, it can be extremely beneficial. We're going to go to blue light glasses here. I know the glasses or the lenses are red, but this is another S tier for me. They have transformed my sleep tremendously. Sleep is the best recovery tool that you can use. And this is something that I recommend to not only athletes, but to everyone, particularly with all the screens, the bright lights. They're a complete game changer. And you can get a red light lamp or device. You can also get a Himalayan salt lamp, just anything that is going to help optimize your sleep, particularly if you're traveling, late on away days, you're on the bus, getting home 2, 3 in the morning. Having a pair of glasses like these will make a huge difference. I've been wearing these now forever. Talking about recovery, we're going to go to nutrition. This is another thing that, again, is an S tier. It's something that, it will help you get 1% better. And if you have this locked in and dialed in, it's going to help with your recovery, your performance, everything. You see too many people just neglect this. They just eat whatever they want. And they think, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm working, I'm burning it off, et cetera, et cetera. It's just not the case. It's really important that you dial in your nutrition, and it can be a big difference maker in your career. So we didn't really have any C or D tier stuff. These are just things that came up, on the top of my mind, that are things that I have experience with, things that I can comment on. But if you've got any other things that you want me to rank or any thoughts, leave them in the comments. Happy to continue to explore these topics and to try to give you the best guidance and advice when it comes to your goalkeeping journey. So hope you found this helpful. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe, like the video, and see you in the next one. All right.